Today, we're going to take a closer look at language, specifically how our brains are built to make language. What do I mean? Every one of us is born with the ability to use language. We can use language even if no one teaches us. Let's look at a special language, the language of signs. Now, you probably know about American Sign Language. Deaf people or people with limited hearing often learn to use signs rather than speech to communicate. But it's a language like others. It has an alphabet, vocabulary, and grammar. However, we now know that deaf people don't need to be taught the language to communicate. How do we know this? Well, in Nicaragua, 50 years ago, there wasn't a good educational system for children who couldn't hear. Those children learned to talk to their families. They pointed to things they wanted. They paid attention to gestures and movements. However, each family had a different way to communicate, a different system of signs and gestures. As a result, the children couldn't talk to anyone outside their families. In the 1980s, the Nicaraguan government opened a school for deaf children. For the first time, a large group of children who couldn't speak came together. But they didn't know how to talk to each other. At home, each of them used a different set of signs. They didn't speak the same kind of sign language, so they weren't able to communicate even basic messages. However, as they spent more time together, they learned to speak to each other through a common set of signs. They created their own language. The teachers knew some of the students' home signs, but they didn't know the language that the students created. How did this happen? Well, at first, the children developed some vocabulary. They made signs that meant certain words, like water or classroom or sleep. But then they developed a grammar, a way to put words together to express ideas, like I want water. That was the beginning of a new real language. What does this tell us? Language is definitely a part of our culture, but we don't need culture to have language. We don't have to learn it from others. We can create it ourselves. Pretty interesting, isn't it?